Trump fans are demonstrating a great deal of outrage towards the Republican president for pulling out of the Iran deal at the behest of Israel. And it's very clear that that's what this is about. This is about the U.S. undermining the power of Iran, and this is something that Israel goes along with. Now, many of them are decrying this as Israel interfering in the affairs of the United States, and they're showing a great deal of outrage. Why is Trump doing what Israel tells him to do? Now, the problem is it's something that it's a liberalism that exists in both right-wingers and liberals. I mean, there is a form of liberalism that goes right through things. The ability to only see how things occur on an individual level. They're unable to understand how the wider implications of a system and how it affects people on a social level. They are only able to understand the individual, not the collective. So to them, they see Donald Trump as selling out his non-interventionist principle that he ran on for president and feel that this is some big betrayal that he had. Now, maybe in Trump's mind, this really is something that he wanted to do. He really wanted to end U.S. intervention in these countries, or maybe he was just doing it because Steve Bannon told him to say it. But what we have to understand is that Donald Trump is not being manipulated by Israel. He is not being manipulated by the so-called deep state. Donald Trump is doing what the system wants him to do. The United States, the financial capital, does not go to war simply because they want profits. They do it because they have to have profits. There is an internal logic to empire itself, which goes beyond the mere actions of a single individual like Donald Trump. Now, this was also very much because it is neo-colonialism. It was very much in the logic of colonialism itself. If the colonial power does not go into a country, steal its resources, take control of the country, brutalize its population, another country will do so and will have the power that comes with controlling that territory and its resources. So it is a race to colonize the world. It's just that for so long, since the end of the Soviet Union, we have seen only one supreme power in the United States, one primary hegemonic power in the world, who has had the freedom to go after whatever it wanted. And thus, it seems like it's just a choice that the president does. Or we understand this as just some kind of innate, inherent thing to the American people that their country goes to war all the time. It is not something in the American people. It is something in the system itself. America was built as a place which stole land from others. You know, the genocide of the native population, the genocide of Africans in the slave trade, etc. This is not something that Trump does, or Obama did, or something Clinton did, or something Bush did. This is something imperialism does. This is something capitalism does. And that's what these right-wingers, these Trump supporters don't seem to understand. They think it's just him who did it, that Donald Trump just is being coerced by the deep state, or this is something that Obama did because he's inherently evil for being a Democrat, or something that George Bush did because he was a tool of somebody else, or something that Clinton did just because he's an evil person. None of these people did these things to forward the U.S. empire because of particular choices that they made. They did this because that's the internal logic of imperialism and colonialism itself. And that's what they're learning at this stage. They're learning that this is not something that Trump chose to do, or he was coerced into doing by the deep state. What we understand as the deep state is just the functioning of capitalism. It's just the functioning of empire. And there is not going to be any great candidate that's going to come along through an election that's going to change that. Bernie Sanders won't change anything. Trump won't change anything, just as Obama didn't change anything, and many of us said that from the beginning. Obama was not the candidate of hope and change. The U.S. empire continued to be the same. The same CIA tortures at Guantanamo Bay were carried out. The same imperialist expansion. The same imperialist wars were carried out. And a lot of us told people from the beginning that you can go ahead and vote for Obama all you want, because he gave these lofty notions about ending the wars, and supporting workers that were striking at Republic windows and doors way back when he first took on the presidency, and his talk about creating a universal healthcare system, that all of these were just fluffy notions that he gave in order to forward himself into the presidency. And then we see this every time. They come in, and they're just another part of the system. Bill Clinton is set to be the same kind of, humanitarian liberal that we always hear about that the Democratic Party supposedly represents. And he turned out to be one of the biggest jailers of African Americans in U.S. history. He carried out the bombings of Kosovo, etc., into that whole terrible mess that NATO carried out. So, essentially, Trump is the Obama of the right. They are finally learning after all this time, and really much, much quicker than liberals learned from Obama, that he is not the person they thought he was. He didn't do what he said he was going to do, and that it is not a part of what he himself. This is not him. This is the system. He was presented as the phony hope and change candidate that the right wanted, as opposed to something the liberals wanted in Obama. And that's a harsh lesson they're learning today, and some of them are in absolute straight denial. They're just claiming that, oh, well, Trump said he was going to do this and he didn't do it, and it benefits Israel, therefore it was Israel that made him do this, do all this. We should understand that Israel does not control the United States. The United States controls Israel because Israel will carry out U.S. interests in the region better than anyone else. And that's why Israel gets a free hand to do everything that it wants to do. This is not a Jewish conspiracy. This is economics. This is politics. This is the system itself. And no amount of being angry at what Trump is doing is going to change that. No amount of being in denial about who Trump is. How could he do this? I mean, he's a member of the bourgeoisie. He's reportedly a billionaire. You couldn't get much more entrenched into the bourgeoisie than that. And then somehow they feel that he's going to act differently than all the other capitalists in the country, or somehow fundamentally that he can change the system itself. And that's what right-wingers have learned here, that Donald Trump is not the candidate of hope and change that they were hoping for. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.